Neoma, my name is Krista, and I am here to talk to you today about China. Though my name is Krista, my Chinese name is Wang Zhukfeng. My father was born in Hong Kong in 1952, and he immigrated, which means he moved here when he was 6 years old with my grandmother. And in Chinese, we call grandmothers papa. So my papa and my father moved to San Francisco, and can you even imagine moving from thousands of miles away to come to a new country where you didn't speak the language and you didn't eat any of the food? It was a real culture shock for them. So even though I was raised in the States, a lot of the cultures and traditions came with my papa and my father when they moved here. So, for example, some of the language came. I was only spoken to in English when I grew up, so I don't know too much Chinese. But I know how to count in Chinese, so I can count for you. And here are the numbers. Now, I'll be speaking to you in Cantonese because that's what my family taught me, but actually the official language in China is Mandarin. And I'm sure your teacher, Mrs. Smith, can tell you a little bit more about that. So, but here are the numbers, and feel free to count along if you like. It's yet, yi, sam, say, look, tet, bat, gao, sa. Those are the numbers 1 to 10. Another thing I learned in Chinese was my name. So as I said, my name is Wang, which is my last name. So your last name always comes first. And then you have two words that make up the second part of your name. And in Chinese, there are no letters, so there's no way to really spell anything. Everything is done through pictographs or pictures. So I'll show you the character for Wang. And Wang looks like this. So that's my last name. And then the next character, Zhou, means bamboo. And it looks like that, right there. And then the last character is Feng, which is the Chinese character for maple. So my full name is, well, not Krista, but my full name is Wang and then Bamboo Maple, which seems like kind of a funny name. But there's maple right there. But the reason you're given those names when you're born is because your family believes whatever they name you is what you will grow up to be. So every Chinese person who has a Chinese name has a name that is usually strong in meaning, or some character trait. So the meaning of putting the characters of bamboo and maple together is that I am supposed to be strong, like bamboo, which is very inflexible and hard to bend, but also like a maple tree, which is flexible and can bend in the wind. So anyway, so that's my name. Another thing that came with my father and my papa is the tradition of lychee envelopes, which is always a fun tradition. Lychee envelopes look like this, and you can look closely because Mrs. Smith has some for you guys to take home. And what happens is on your birthday, all of the people that are older than you give you lychee envelopes, or it's called lucky money, and there's money inside. And then if it is someone else's birthday who's older, then they have to give money to all the younger generations for their own birthdays. So it's fun when you're little because you get money from everybody, and then when you're older, you have to give money to everybody, which is nice. It's a nice gesture, but that's a lychee envelope. And then, of course, most importantly, so much food came over. I learned to make Chinese fried rice from my papa. There was also always Chinese snacks around the house whenever I was there. So here's one of them, and you guys have some from Mrs. Smith. It's called Botan rice candy. And inside, so it's like a Cracker Jack in that there's always a prize inside. But then there's this really cool candy, and it's chewy and fruity inside. But if you take off the paper, so I'll take off this little plastic piece of paper. See, in this, it says Botan candy. This you throw away. But if you look close, there is still some paper on the outside of the candy. And this is made of rice. And you can eat it. So there's actual edible paper. My father remembers me going into the cabinets when I was young, maybe 6 or 7, and unwrapping all of the rice candies and eating all of the rice paper off of the candies and then putting all the candies back in the box, and he would get so mad. But anyway, there's some candy for you guys to try. Another snack we always had around was sunflower crackers. And these are almost like saltines without the salt, and it has like a sweet cream inside. Can you see? There's a little bit of cream in there. So you guys can try these too. The cool thing about Chinese desserts and snacks is they're not super sugary. So something like this was totally fine to eat after school because it wasn't really sweet. We also had always Asian fruits on hand, and here's one of them. This is called rambutan, and I'm going to cut it open and show you how to cut it open yourself with your teacher. But you would take this, and it's kind of weird looking, right? And it looks spiky, but it's actually quite furry. And so you take your knife, let me move this here, and you're just going to make a cut. Well, your teacher will make a cut all the way around. And it's not too hard to cut into. There's a big seed in the middle, so you can't cut all the way through. You just kind of have to score it all the way around. And then you twist. And there's this little ball. It looks like a great big grape that's been peeled. And then here's the shell that it pops out of. And there it is. It looks like a little egg. This is also known as a dragon's eye, because if you cut away at the fruit, and I'll peel it open to show you. See, it almost looks like it was an eyeball or something. So if you can see, be careful when you eat it, because sometimes the shell gets left behind, but you can bite the outside, and like I said, it pretty much tastes like a grape. It's pretty good. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Finally, aside from the food, there's a lot of great stories that come out of Chinese culture. Some are funny, some are beautiful, and I've sent 2 with your teacher, Mrs. Smith, to read to you. The first one is called Tiki Tiki Tembo, and it's a Chinese folk tale. Now, if you don't know, a folk tale is a story that is supposed to teach a lesson. And so the purpose of this story is to also tell why Chinese people have short names like this instead of a very long name like the main character of the story. It's kind of a fun book, so I hope you guys enjoy it. The second book, it's one of my favorite ones, and it's called The Featherless Chicken. The author is someone named Chu Wan Shen, and this book is illustrated. I'll just show you really quick inside with some beautiful watercolor paintings. And it's a story about a chicken who has a pretty hard go in life because he's born with no feathers and everyone makes fun of him. So you can read this story with your teacher as well. Oh, I forgot. One last tradition that came is clothing. I don't wear this that you see behind me very often because it's pretty fancy. But this is called a cheongsam. Let me take it down so you can see closer. And cheongsams are worn on special occasions, on birthdays, for banquets, like wedding banquets or birthday banquets. And now banquets are usually big meals with all your family members, and it's maybe 14 courses of food throughout a 3-hour period. But yeah, so this is a cheongsam. And I think that's about it. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask your teacher, Mrs. Smith. I hope you really enjoy learning about China today. It's so hard to cover China in just one day because there's so many cool things about it. But like I said, if you have any questions, let your teacher, Mrs. Smith, know, and I will do my best to answer them for you, or maybe she can answer them for you. So I hope you have a lot of fun today and enjoy the stories and enjoy the snacks. So until I see you again, 再見